This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Spring is here, so much things are happening within the Durham region. New outdoor events are coming out, the Gens are currently in their playoffs. So much happening within the Durham region. As I said, the Gens kicked off the playoffs for this season this past weekend. Don't miss all the action here live on Rogers TV. Election season is full swing. Elections are April 28th, and you can get all the coverage here on Rogers TV. It's spring, so many events are coming up. I'm so excited for the summer season. Outdoor event season is the best, and so it is time for the Uxbridge Scugog Life event update. So the Purple Woods Maple Syrup Festival wrapped up last weekend. I had the chance to go out a few weekends ago. It was so much fun. It was a rainy day, but still so many people came out. The smell of the maple syrup is just amazing there. I didn't get to try any, but you could literally smell it as soon as you got out of the car. So that wrapped up last weekend, but they're looking forward to the Lantern Walk at the Purple Woods Sugar Bush coming up on Friday, April 4th from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's kind of like an illuminated walk through the forest. You have to do a self-guided hike and almost kind of spooky vibes, but I'm sure it'll be super fun. Enjoy a tasty treat made with real maple syrup and explore the illuminated sugar bush. It's $12 a person, and you can buy your tickets online. The Scugog Choral Society presents Annie. Yes, that's right. The Scugog Theater is performing Annie this year, which will be super fun. Ticket prices are $35 for adults and $30 for seniors and children under the age of 13, and $30 for students with a valid student ID. They're performing at Town Hall 1873 Theater, and it's running the first 2 weekends of April with matinee and evening performances happening all weekend from Friday to Sunday afternoon. Easter is almost here, and the Uxbridge BIA is hosting an Easter egg extravaganza. There is an egg hunt happening at all participating businesses along Brock and Toronto Street. This is happening Saturday, April 19th from 11 a.m. to 2. You can take photos with the Easter Bunny, coloring contest, prizes, and more. That's a free event at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 19th. The Uxbridge Farmers Market Indoor 2025 is currently on. It kicked off back in February and is running until April 13th. It's happening every other Sunday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Uxbridge Arena Hall. Shopping local is so important right now, as we kind of talk about in every episode, but shop from various vendors with amazing farmers, marketers, and bakers. Shop fresh and local produce and lots of different other things to shop for at the market. So on today's episode, we have Eric from Rogers TV's very own Cinema Scene. We have Tim from We Candle, which is a new and up-and-coming business for people with disabilities to be employed. And we have Jess from Positivity coming to talk about her new event business in the Durham region, why puppy yoga is so important, and how it creates memorable wellness experiences. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. We'll see you after the break.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Van Bilson. My next guest is Christine Voss, the Executive Director of the Oak Hospice. We'll learn all about Christine and her amazing job right here on Rogers TV.
welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. And for this segment, I am joined with Eric from Rogers' very own cinema scene. Eric, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Olivia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It was really nice to talk to you and meet you and get to, know a little bit about you as a person. We were talking beforehand, so it's really exciting to have that conversation, but also talk about upcoming movies as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you talked about watching a movie last night called Freaky Tales that just came out. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so this opens at the beginning of April, and it played at Sundance last year. It's from the co-directors Ryan Fleck and Anne Boden, who 20 years ago directed Ryan Gosling to an Oscar nomination for Half Nelson, his first Oscar nomination. Since then, their career has been a little bit up and down in terms of the quality of their work that they've done. They worked with the other Canadian Ryan Reynolds for Mississippi Grind, with Ben Mendelsohn, who's actually in this film. This story is basically set in the Bay Area in Oakland in 1987, and it's 4 intersecting stories about revenge, rebellion, and redemption. You have Pedro Pascal playing a low-level enforcer in one sequence, but what it's basically trying to do is it's an homage to both post-Tarantino and Barry Gordon's The Last Dragon. So there's a little bit of a sci-fi psychedelic edge to it, and there's even a reference to David Cronenberg, who we'll be talking about in a few minutes. But there's something that also feels like it belongs in the 90s, post-Pulp Fiction. It's tepid, it's uneven, and I think the biggest problem with a narrative like this is that when you're watching it, you're watching 4 individual stories that do connect in some ways or intersect, but you're judging each story, so the inconsistency of it is what plays against the film itself.
That sounds like an interesting, different kind of take on it, having 4 different stories in one movie.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And again, there was a time in the 90s where that was very common. Like I mentioned, Pulp Fiction, where you had all of these characters where one section or one timeline would be focused on one character, and then you would go to another section or perspective, but you would still see those other characters playing supporting roles in the second or third narrative. And that's what it's kind of evoking in its language, but it's also trying to be this gory splatterfest genre film. And I dig some of that. Like, it has a synth score that's very much in the John Carpenter vein of things, but it just feels a little bit tired, and it's more obsessed with the aesthetic of the film than it is the actual story. So it's looking at, the sort of boxed in aspect ratio and, the kind of retrograde quality of filmmaking from 1987 than really focusing on, telling an interesting story that we haven't seen before. It's just all pastiche. It feels like, we've seen this with Tarantino, with Joe Carnahan, filmmakers that love to dabble in exploitation filmmaking.
Interesting. And so did you get like a special screening of it if it's coming out in April? Yeah,
so what happens sometimes for press screenings, you'll get invited to press screenings early. With this, I was given a link. So Cineplex Films is releasing the movie here in Canada, I believe the first week of April 4th. And with that, I'm very lucky, and I don't ever take it for granted. But when you're watching it at home, it's a different experience than, say, watching it in a theater, right? Because I think you're more focused, you're more, giving yourself over to the theatrical experience.
And you kind of feel more comfortable in your home, right?
You do, and that can be a problem when you're watching a movie. But when you're watching something for work or doing something for work, you are a little bit more glued or connected to what you're doing. And again, like, I love watching movies. Even though the film didn't work for me, I still appreciated the attempt. There's something there where, like, I felt the filmmakers were trying for something, even though it doesn't work.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, so that was Freaky Tales, right? The one that you just watched.
Yes, and to jump into sort of, I mentioned David Cronenberg in Scanners, because that's a movie that's referenced in there. There's also another very famous actor in Freaky Tales that grew up in the Bay Area. I'll give you a hint. He's a big name who pops up in Freaky Tales for a cameo role. But going to David Cronenberg, this is one of my favorite directors of all time. He's someone that is looking at the world in a way that discusses body horror and our relationship to technology. He's one of the truly great Canadian directors, and he's explored this subject throughout his entire filmography. He's been a singular voice since the 1970s. His latest movie, The Shrouds, which is about this sort of tech entrepreneur who helps to create a new virtual cemetery, and he's played by Vincent Cassel, is basically an avatar for David Cronenberg. And David Cronenberg has been very candid that this story came from a place of grief and loss, because in the process of writing this story, his wife passed away in real life. And in this narrative, you have the character who is grieving the loss of his wife and observing the dead body decompose in real time. And so, again, the relationship between technology and artistry and our own, sense of letting go and what that means and what we're willing to do and not do. But there's also a fascinating angle because David Cronenberg is an atheist. And so the character that Vincent Cassel plays almost is seduced by the concept of conspiracy theories, the idea that maybe there's a greater plan here or a scheme that had something to do with his wife's death, who's played by Diane Kruger in 3 different roles. She plays the wife, but also the twin sister to the deceased spouse, and an avatar in the film herself. And it's an amazing movie, but it's also very funny. Like, it sounds grim, it sounds sort of morose, but there's a comic edge to it. Anytime Guy Pearce comes into the film, he also plays this kind of like incel type character, drinking Tim Hortons coffee and sort of having these weird conspiracy rabbit hole theory stories with Vincent Cassel. The movie lightens up and there's almost like a slapstick humor in one sequence, but again, it feels very real. Like, I'm always a little bit hesitant when it comes to technology in film, because it can take you out of the movie. If you don't believe it, especially even if it's just something as simply as like, you're watching somebody on a fake version of Instagram and they couldn't get the rights to Instagram, so they call it Insta-Jam or something like that. You're completely like, okay, this doesn't feel real to me. All the technology that's invented for this film feels like it could exist in the real world, and I think that is absolutely amazing. This movie doesn't open until the end of April. It played at TIFF last year. I have an interview coming up with David Cronenberg, and he is completely upfront about how he feels about his own filmography, about the work that is being made in general, and even cinematography.
Yeah.
He's talked about how he has no nostalgia for film and that he's more interested in digital.
Cool.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that interview with David coming up.
Yeah.
Make sure to tune into Eric's show, Cinema Scene, here on Rogers TV. Eric, thanks for joining me today.
Olivia, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me. And we'll be back after the break.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
This is Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life, and for this segment, I am joined with Tim from We Candles. Tim, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks.
So you're kind of an up-and-coming new business, making candles and kind of creating jobs for people who, with differing abilities, right? So do you want to kind of start off talking a little bit about where We Candles, the inspiration came from?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me today.
Of course.
So We Candle, inspired by it's an e-commerce take on something that's been really close to my heart, and I've been volunteering in this space, Special Olympics, sitting on boards, helping out with community living, Port Perry, Uxbridge, and Brampton. So all the way along over the last 20 years, what I realized is that there's just not a lot of employment opportunities for people with disabilities. So what we wanted to try and do is create a space where it can either give somebody their first opportunity for employment or a chance to grow, a chance to get experience, build a resume, and either move on to other employment opportunities or stay with us long term. But that's how the vision started.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Why is it kind of important to you to create jobs for people living with disabilities?
People with disabilities, so about 85% of people with disabilities are unemployed. And it's not because they don't want to work, it's not because they're not capable, it's just there might be certain workspaces just aren't set up for them, or they're not given opportunities. And I think a lot of times too, we could make accommodations to decrease that number.
For sure.
But even with those, even with the 15% of people that might be employed, a lot of them are working 3 to 6 hours a week, and so we're trying to create opportunities that if people do want to work more, there's opportunities for them.
For sure, and it takes an employer who has the time and the effort to like kind of eliminate barriers and like create opportunities that are equal for everyone. So why candles? Do candles play like any significance in it?
So candles, I have another business that's in e-commerce, and when we were starting, I was trying to think of something like what's something that's going to set us up for success, that's going to work really well for our employees, to make sure that we're setting them up, giving them the best chance for success. And we landed on candles. We thought it was just a beautiful way that it also is like lighting up the way. There's so many other things that go into candles, and I think it's even from a customer standpoint, if you have one candle in your house, you have like 20. So, and we're designing a beautiful product. Like we're really making sure that our wax is high end. It's there's no paraffins in it. Our fragrance oils are really high end. So we're making sure that the product will stand on its own as a candle, but then also the mission behind it's going to be amazing.
For sure. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what the candle? This is like a prototype.
This is a prototype. We're just getting started. We're just doing interviews now, but.
Yes. What kind
So each candle is going to come with, like it was probably my favorite part of it is a Meet the Maker card, which is like kind of like a calling card, and each employee will have a QR code on it, and it'll go to a landing page for them to celebrate their accomplishment, talk about their life if they so choose. If they don't want to, that's fine. But it's a chance for them to advocate for themselves, and we can really celebrate them. That's like my favorite part about the candles, but there's going to be lots of different candles along the way, different sizes, but this is just our prototype for the first to get started.
Awesome. Now, I know it's in the early stages, but how would you say that We Candles is going to make a difference in the future?
It's hard. We were thinking about that, and we were like, it's been a lot of work to get to the point where we're at, and we're thinking like, how many people can we help? Like how many jobs can we provide? And we're starting this year alone, we're going to hire probably 25 people. Next year, we'll probably double that number, and we'll kind of keep growing. And it's just a chance. It's to give people a chance. In an ideal world, people would come work with us, and it's going to be a beautiful space to work, where equipment and everything is designed around our employees.
Yep.
But then we want to help them move on in the community as well. If they want to, if they so choose to move on to another employment opportunities, we'd love to help them do that as well. Or they could stay with us long term. It's just about providing a chance.
For sure.
Yeah, that first opportunity.
Yeah. And that's kind of all it really takes, right? Is just even that confidence to kind of get a first position and get that experience, be able to like create a resume and stuff, and then be able to move on if they so choose. Or they might love it so much.
Yeah. Like we're trying to, we would love to keep everybody, but I mean, in an ideal world, we'd love to see other opportunities sprout from this.
And with kind of small businesses being such a big topic right now in shopping local, I think what you guys are doing is amazing. What kind of advice or any input you have on like what small businesses could do, other businesses or whatever, to kind of eliminate barriers?
Honestly, it's a really good question. I think it's very individualized. So taking the time to make that conscious effort to say like, I want to make my workspace more inclusive.
For sure.
So even just starting there and then reaching out to other agencies, your local agencies like Community Living, a lot of them have employment parts to their office, and they can help you with different programs, training, and they can also come out and help make sure the workspace is good for their employees as well.
For sure. Now, for viewers that kind of are interested in purchasing one of these candles, again, you are still kind of starting up, but how will people be able to purchase these candles?
We're going to be selling them on our website, and directly we'll mail them, ship them directly. We'll also be reaching out to a lot of local, smaller shops that we can wholesale and carry them in, like Port Perry and Ajax, and different little shops and stuff.
For sure.
And then also businesses, any business that's thinking about corporate gift giving, if it's customer appreciation gifts, employee appreciation gifts, those kind of things, thinking like realtor as a housewarming present for their clients, stuff like that. We also do custom wholesale orders as well.
Awesome. Now, how much are the candles going to range for in price?
So they'll be, depending on the size, depending on the size, will be somewhere between $25 to $40. And then we also will sell gift packs. So thinking like for Christmas time, stuff like that, when you want to give someone like a 3-pack of candles, we'll also have gift sets available as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to check out We Candles. Your website will be up soon, or is it up now?
It's up now.
Okay, perfect.
Follow us on social stuff too. So if you go to wecandle.co, that's our website, and that's our handle on all the social. So like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn,
awesome.
TikTok. So
perfect. Okay, well, Tim, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much. It was really fun.
Awesome. Now we'll be back after the break.
Knights of Columbus TV Bingo this week will be at 6 p.m. Not our usual 7, will be at 6 p.m. this Tuesday, right here on Rogers TV for your chance to win up to $5,000.
This is Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life, and for this segment I am joined with Jess from Positivity and the cutest little guest, Archie. Jess, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you kind of are the owner of this new event company in the Durham region, Positivity.
Absolutely.
Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what Positivity is all about?
100%. So Positivity is an events company that focuses on creating memorable wellness experiences with the help of some furry friends.
Yeah, he's far gone now.
Yeah, he's out there. But we host a number of different events. So it's private, corporate, and public, all with the mission to connect animal lovers with one another and just spread positive vibes.
Yeah, I love the name. It's so cute. Positivity. Where did the inspiration for the name kind of come from?
So honestly, for me, I've always loved puppy yoga. It's been such an amazing thing for me. I love dogs, but I never wanted to limit myself to just working with puppies.
For sure.
So that's where kind of Positivity came into play, because I would love to work with kittens as well.
Yeah.
We have hosted kitten socials before, and we're planning on doing some more kitten events. So it just kind of makes it a little bit more versatile.
For sure. I love the name. So cute. Now, I feel like puppy yoga, the popularity is kind of on the rise.
Oh, 100%.
Did you attend puppy yoga events before you decided to start the company?
Honestly, when I first started out, well, really and truly thinking about it, and the reason why I started Positivity is because I've always had a love for animals, but I never, ever, ever wanted to be a vet growing up.
Yeah,
just
I could never do that.
I didn't want to deal with the hard parts of being a vet and the difficult parts that their job entails. So I ended up going to school for events. I fell in love with events, and I was exposed to it in Toronto. And I actually worked for 2 different companies in Toronto that did puppy yoga. So I kind of learned the ropes, and I'm so grateful for the experiences I had there.
Yeah.
But once moving back home, I realized that there was nothing like it in Durham. So I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Let's just start it.
For sure.
So we brought it here, and ever since then, it's been an absolute dream.
Yeah. Now, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about events that you've hosted within the Durham region?
Yeah, 100%. So far what we do is mainly we're hosting our public events, and those are actually in Clarington. They operate out of Bowmanville. Those are absolutely incredible, but we've also done events in Cobourg. We've done events for universities. We just did one for Durham College and UOIT. But they're awesome experiences for students, and they're so therapeutic for any participant to come into. So it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah. Which is just incredible. I feel like with puppy yoga, the popularity on the rise, now is the perfect time to get into it.
100%.
How would you say that dogs kind of play a role in creating memorable wellness experiences?
So honestly, with puppy yoga, I really think that when we think about the animals joining us, or when we think about a typical yoga class, we're already just so like kind of calm, zenned out, everything like that. But once we bring puppies into the mixture, they're just so pure and they just want love. And as much as we want to adore them and cuddle them, they want to be adored. And it's an amazing experience because it socializes the animals too before they go to their forever homes. And often at times, the puppies that we work with are still looking for their forever homes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible to see how just walking into a room and being into a yoga session, everyone's all excited, but once the puppies join them, they just kind of calm down. And it's just this incredible experience where people don't have to think about anything in their life for a full hour.
Yeah. Now, I had the chance to kind of work a puppy yoga event with Jess at Durham College, and I talked to her mom actually, and she was talking about how like everyone's kind of having fun at the yoga, but then as soon as the dogs or animals come in, like all of a sudden there's like some zen in the room, and she said like the just vibe in the room changes instantly, which I think is... It's
such an amazing experience because there's so much going on during the yoga session where it's like you don't think about anything else. You're just thinking about the yoga and the puppies, and that's like the most incredible like experience that you could have, where you're not even thinking about anything going on in your personal life. It's just puppies and yoga.
Yeah, and like with everything going on in the world nowadays,
100%.
The little break just to think about these cute puppies around you.
Total need, for sure.
For sure. So you've kind of always had a love for animals, which I feel like also plays a huge part in kind of the passion behind what you're doing, which I think is awesome. What kind of events are you looking to host in the future?
So I have a couple events coming up that we're actually really, really excited for. We have an event with Shamong Lodge in Peterborough that's a puppy yoga brunch. So you get a puppy yoga class, you get to mingle with the puppies, and then afterwards you get to enjoy brunch. That's a super special one that's going to be, I think, on April 12th. And then we also are collaborating with the Oshawa Center for their Kindness Garden, which is going to be absolutely incredible. We have 3 dates with that. But really and truly, another thing that I look forward to, I would say, is more kitten events. I'm so excited. I don't want to give you too many details yet, but it has to do with kittens and sound.
Fun.
So those will be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you could bring Archie here today.
He's just happy to be here.
Yes, it's his moment.
Oh yeah.
How long have you had him?
So he is gonna turn 5 now.
Aww.
In December.
So cute.
Yeah.
He's the prettiest little eyes.
He's pretty special.
He's the cutest, and he's so soft. If you can't tell, he's literally so soft. So where can viewers kind of find out about your events or events you're hosting in the Durham region?
100%. So we have our website. It's www.positivity.ca, but we also have our Instagram profile. That's probably the one we're most active on. Mm-hmm. And then we have our brand new Facebook page, because when I first started out, I accidentally created a Facebook profile for Positivity, but now we have our page up and running. So feel free to check us out there. We are on Positivity events on both platforms.
Awesome. Yeah. And even if you can't come out to an event, literally the serotonin that you get from just like watching the videos.
Just watching the videos is so much fun. I do it all the time.
Yeah, and it kind of like helps you, I feel like with events, being able to capture that and post it on social media gets more and more people interested in the events.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today, Jess.
Thank you
and
so
thank you,
much
Archie.
for coming.
He's somewhere.
He's living his best life over there.
Yeah. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
And thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Olivia Flanagan, and we'll see you next week.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.